Hello, everyone.
Hello. This is the second segment in Franz's chapter, Indoctrination and Subordination. He's now analyzing an article from The Awake of 1978, August 22nd. The article is entitled, Do Others Do Your Thinking? And the subheads are, Propaganda has power. Does it overpower you? Or do you have a mind of your own? And the article begins this way. Education teaches you how to think. Propagandists tell you what to think. True educators present all sides of an issue and encourage discussion. Propagandists hammer hard on their view and discourage discussion. Many times their true motives are hidden. They sift the facts, tell the favorable ones, and conceal the others. They distort and twist facts, specialize in lies and half-truths. Your emotions, not your logical thinking abilities, are their target. Many fall easy prey because it takes no effort to feel, whereas thinking is hard labor. And the propagandist sees to it that his message is made to seem wise, the right and moral one, and gives you a sense of importance and belonging if you follow it. You are one of the smart ones. You're not alone. You are comfortable and secure, so they say. Tyranny of authority, ridicule, name-calling, smears, slurs, personal digs, all such tactics are marshaled to assail your mind and take it by storm. But even educated, sophisticated persons fall prey to a very unfair and untrue type of propaganda. This type assumes a superior air of dismissal of an opponent's viewpoint, treating it as rather pathetic and not really worthy of attention. It is what many evolutionists resort to in order to evade questions that they cannot answer. They can't prove their theory, so they resort to making assertions, and they scoff at all who dare to dispute them. They prove neither their assertions nor their smears, but by the tyranny of authority, they pontificate their opinions, squelch objections, and intimidate opposers. It works, and supposedly intelligent people who know nothing about the theory, that is the theory of evolution, believe it because all intelligent people believe it. And that's the end of the direct quote from Do Others Do Your Thinking?
The reader of this Awake article is urged not to be overpowered, even though information may seem to be wise, right, and moral, even though it gives you a sense of importance and belonging if you follow it. The material speaks forcefully in favor of open discussion, not letting the tyranny of authority keep you from testing everything as to its truthfulness. This is, it says, the course of wisdom. Somewhat later, an article asking, Has mass persuasion affected you? Gives these points for protecting oneself against being herded into mass thinking. Quote, The person most easily brainwashed is the normal, average individual. Such a one is already conditioned to accept opinions of others, rather than to form strong convictions of his own. On the other hand, those hardest to brainwash are ones with unconventional ideas and strong convictions, and who are not afraid of what others think.
The article continues listing 5 ways to resist brainwashing. 1. Have strong convictions. As noted above, the person most easily brainwashed is the one quickly swayed by others. Do not go along with an idea just because your associates accept it. Make sure that the views you adopt are truthful. The best way to do that is by comparing them with the inspired Word of God, which is ultimately the truth. 2. Find the reason. Inadvertently, we often accept attitudes without knowing what is behind them. For instance, people in your community may have a negative view of certain races or ethnic groups. But why? If you find the reason unconvincing, why adopt the viewpoint? 3. Resist improper thoughts. It is hard to avoid seeing, hearing, or otherwise experiencing improper thoughts, but must we soak our minds full of them? Doing so will adversely affect our judgments and actions. How much better to resist improper thoughts and to dwell upon things that build up. 4. Speak up for what you know to be right. This will give you opportunity to test what you believe and more firmly entrench the truth in your life. If you are convinced of the truth of a matter after thorough search, do not be disconcerted by ridicule from others. 5. Live the truth. Do not look for excuses to compromise what you know to be right. Remember, if something is right and proper, it will work out for your good. Do not be tricked into thinking that you are missing out on something or that you are unduly restricted because you conform to what is right.
All these articles published by the Watchtower Society encourage, with Bible support, a personal determination as to the truthfulness, the scripturalness of things taught, of what one believes. They do not advocate a go-along attitude, simply to conform to the majority or the views of a particular group. They encourage personal testing, personal weighing, personal acceptance or rejection. They urge the reader to be willing to stand up for what he or she believes with confidence that holding to the truth without compromise will always work out for the best. Well, you can't but feel a little bit like this can't be true, that they said these things. You have to hold it in disbelief.
Yeah, you have to shake your head while you're reading this advice, because we know very well that Jehovah's Witnesses are the most prone. But they're not the only prone. This is one of the points that Jacques Ellul makes in Propaganda, is that it's normal people, followers of the crowd, the crowd that follows propaganda, it's literate people, and only literate people, that are prone to propaganda. The people who are ill-educated or illiterate are the least likely to be victims of propaganda. And in the 20th century, that was the case. In, of course, the totalitarian regimes of both Japan and Germany and Italy, they're literate societies. How did it ever happen that most people were persuaded that these totalistic regimes and answers were correct? Well, it's the same with the cults. It can't be a coincidence that the 20th century has been the most successful propagandizing ground for the cults. They have made their great gains and now are as large, if not larger, in their numbers than the mainstream religion that go back, in many cases, 300, 400, 500 years. So, in the article, Do Others Do Your Thinking, Ray has a lot to say about the points that they have made, and the very hypocrisy of the points, because after all, do others do your thinking?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I think that's the irony, that you don't recognize, even when you leave the Watchtower, to what extent they have been doing your thinking all along, and to what extent you carry their thinking with you into your next life.
Yeah.
So Ray analyzes, after affirming, he says, I agree wholeheartedly with all the points they make.
Yeah, but they just don't follow them.
Yeah.
They don't allow for open discussion. They don't allow for people to do their own study and to voice any objections.
Yeah.
This is forbidden.
So we'll link on your screen to Ellul's book again, Propaganda, and also to Animal Farm. You did a review of that, which you can't help but be hit with the striking comparisons between your experience and what Orwell is describing, which is not a cult, but a totalitarian regime that was very successful in brainwashing, 50 to 100 million people at least.
Yeah. And really, when you think about it, it's saying that you should have strong convictions. I don't know. Do you really think that most people have strong convictions? I don't think so. They are so easily swayed by the argument, the latest argument they've heard.
Yeah. And that's the scary part, that most of our culture is like that now. So the cultic way of doing information sorting, sifting, is now the general culture's way of doing information sorting and sifting. It's frightening. The echo chamber, which he gets into in the next segment.